The wheelchair rolled backward. Metal scraping concrete. A sharp sound. Too loud. People stared, then looked away. The child's hands shook as she grabbed the wheels, trying to stop herself from tipping over. Her blanket slipped. One shoe fell into the gutter. A woman nearby sighed. Someone should do something. No one did. A security guard stepped closer, not to help, but to move her along. "You can't stay here," he said. The girl didn't cry. She'd learned that crying didn't work. Then everything changed. A black luxury car stopped in the middle of traffic. Doors opened, and the man who stepped out wasn't supposed to notice children like her. But he did, and what he did next silenced the entire street. Keep watching, because this moment rewrote every rule of power, dignity, and humanity. Her name was Lily Thompson, 10 years old, and already tired in ways children shouldn't be. The wheelchair was borrowed. One wheel wobbled. The brakes barely held. She'd been left outside the downtown transit terminal with a paper, bag of clothes, and a note that said, "I'm sorry, nothing else." People assumed things. That she was loud. That she was helpless. That she was someone else's problem. The security guard, Mark Ellis, had a job to do and no patience to do it gently. Behind him, commuters watched with practiced indifference. Suits, coffee cups, deadlines. The man who stepped out of the car was Richard Hale, billionaire investor, board member, a name carved into buildings. Power usually stood above moments like this, but Lily looked up anyway, not begging, not afraid, just watching. Because before the accident that took her legs, she'd learned something rare, how to read people, and she was already reading him. Mark Ellis shifted his stance, blocking Lily's chair with his boot like a boundary line. "Sir," he said to Richard Hale, voice clipped, rehearsed, "we've already called this in. She can't stay here." Lily's fingers tightened around the armrests. Not shaking, just ready. Richard didn't answer right away. He studied the scene the way investors study risk. Quietly, completely. The note on Lily's lap, the scuffed rims of the wheelchair, the bruise blooming purple along her wrist where someone had grabbed her too, hard before letting go. A woman nearby lifted her phone, recording. A man muttered, "This is sad," and kept walking. Richard crouched slightly, bringing himself level with Lily's eyes. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she said, clear, steady. "I didn't do anything wrong." Mark scoffed. "She says that every time." Lily looked up at him. "I've never met you before." A few heads turned. Richard noticed the transit terminal. Cameras, 3 of them, working, red lights blinking. He noticed the security log clipped to Mark's belt. He noticed Lily's backpack, patched and labeled neatly, like someone who planned to stay organized even when the world wasn't. "You called child services?" Richard asked. Mark hesitated half a second too long. "They're on the way," Lily whispered, barely audible. "They never come." Richard's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, not to record but to dial. One call, then another. Names spoken quietly. Times confirmed. Procedures invoked. Around them, the air changed. People slowed. Phones came out. Attention gathered. Mark felt it slipping. His authority. His comfort. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is," he said. Richard finally stood. "No," he replied calmly. "You did that the moment you forgot she's a child." And somewhere inside the terminal, a door opened. Hard. Permanent. The terminal went quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Like the building itself was holding its breath. 2 officers arrived first, then a supervisor. Suits followed. Not rushed. Precise. The kind of arrival that meant someone important had made a call that couldn't be ignored. Mark Ellis straightened, confidence snapping back into place. "I've got this under control," he said quickly. The child was loitering, non-compliant. We followed protocol. Richard Hale didn't argue. He gestured toward the cameras above them. "Let's watch," he said. A tablet was produced. Footage queued up. Timestamps, angles, sound. The screen showed Lily being approached. Showed her explaining she was waiting for a shelter intake. Showed Mark grabbing her wrist when she tried to move her chair away. A sharp inhale rippled through the crowd. "That's edited," Mark snapped. "Out of context." "Roll the next clip," Richard said. The next video showed Mark laughing with another guard earlier that night. "Kids like that always come back," Mark said on screen. "They know no one's watching." Silence landed hard. Lily stared at the screen, not crying, not surprised, just tired. The supervisor turned slowly toward Mark. "Is this your voice?" he asked. Mark's mouth opened, closed. A woman near the back whispered, "Oh my God!" Richard knelt beside Lily again. "You kept notes?" he asked softly. She nodded and opened her backpack. Inside, neatly folded papers, dates, times, names, a small recorder taped inside, a pencil case. "They think I don't understand," she said. "So I listen." The supervisor exhaled through his teeth. Mark stepped back. "This is getting blown out of proportion." "No," Richard said quietly. "This is proportion." Child Services arrived last, but this time not to remove Lily. To remove Mark. Hands trembled as cuffs closed. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. Authority collapsed in real time. Lily felt it then. Not relief, validation. Richard turned to her, voice steady but changed. "You should have never had to prove you mattered." The crowd stood frozen, watching a system crack open. And for the first time in a long while, Lily wasn't invisible. Morning light poured through the terminal windows. Soft, honest, unforgiving. Lily sat at a small table, hands wrapped around a cup of hot chocolate someone had pressed into her palms without asking for anything in return. A social worker sat nearby, not hovering, not rushing, just present. Outside, Mark Ellis's name was already spreading. Suspended. Under investigation. Footage everywhere. People who had walked past Lily the night before now stood in quiet clusters, ashamed. A woman approached slowly, crouched to Lily's eye level. "I'm sorry," she said. "No excuses, just truth." Lily nodded once. That was enough. Richard Hale didn't make speeches. He made phone calls, housing, medical care. A lawyer, pro bono, but furious. By noon, a temporary placement was secured. By evening, an adaptive wheelchair evaluation was scheduled. Real help, not charity theater. Before leaving, Richard knelt again. "None of this erases what happened," he said. "But it changes what happens next." Lily studied him carefully. "You didn't look away," she said. Richard swallowed. "I've looked away before," he admitted. "I won't again." Weeks later, the terminal installed new oversight policies. Cameras were repositioned, staff retrained. A quiet plaque appeared near the entrance, not with Richard's name, but with a promise. "No child is invisible here." Lily started school that spring. She learned to type fast, to speak louder, to believe the notes she kept mattered. And one day, when someone else was ignored, she noticed, because dignity is contagious. And sometimes the world doesn't change because power steps in, but because someone small refuses to disappear.